probably the closest thing to a diary that you're going to get in this day and age, when people don't write things down as they used to. The use of pen and pencil and paper and journals are on the progressive decline. It's going to be social media, your social media posts, and reflection of your past many times are on the pages of Instagram, Facebook, even YouTube. And I was just going back 2 years in my timeline and realizing how much investment there is in people being victims. And I'm going to challenge you, if you're labeled as black in America, that the victimization that you are prompted to have is many times just thrown in your face since you are born. And it was evident in just different planned protests. It was evident in just how little is expected of you and how much of a trap it is. I started realizing that, this is something that might not even be true, but it's being held up as a truth. It's almost like a basketball player who is already has height, but for him to be successful, he has to rely on his much shorter teammate to throw him an alley-oop so he can dunk it. And without that prompting, he might not ever see that there was no need for a prompt in the first place. I'm just letting these cars go by. A lot of these cars, remember, this is a football heavy weekend, and in it there's a lot of traffic in the area that is not normally here. And yeah, so how much of that victimization has been prompted to you? Because when I look out, I just don't see it. It seems like everywhere you look, people are supposed to be fighting and supposed to be enemies. And a lot of it is because they have a lot of products to sell here in America aimed towards the victimization of people for different reasons. Are you a black person? Are you a religious person? How much religion and what religion are you part of that needs an asterisk for being victimized? How much are you getting paid? How much can you really take internally before you are considered a person? Can you just be a person and be left alone without wanting to take part of anything that the news is trying to sell you, that the pharmaceutical companies are trying to sell you, without wanting to be a victim or needing to be a victim? Is it a form of abuse? A lot of mental health issues that are being cited or claimed in this country come from the fact that, especially in the last 20 years, we have a constant news cycle that doesn't stop. And you have to pick your victimization. You have to pick, do I want to be a oppressed woman today? Do I want to be an oppressed gender? Do I want to be an oppressed another person running in front of the car, an oppressed streetwalker? Do I want my oppression to speak for me? How do I identify? If so much pressure and interest is put on identification, how much pressure is being put on who you really are? How much of that baggage do you really need? Is it as important to study history as to perhaps try to make your own and be surrounded with people who share with your way of thinking and your thoughts. And who is offended when you profess your own power of making your own decision and being an individual? Who takes offense to that? Because right now it seems that if you don't watch the news, you live a much calmer life than people who watch the news on a regular basis. It's the first thing they talk about. They feel the need to tell you who you voted for, and it breaks relationships, and it breaks everything but the tension that encompasses the people talking about the latest headlines, latest celebrity gossip, which has no bearing in your life, news that is really not news, but it's a sensational way of approaching your own personal emotions and your own direction in your life. So how much of it is by design, and how much of it can a human being actually take before they actually snap? Because as it appears to be, there's right now, let me show you what's in front of me. There's a fire truck on one side, and there's a trolley coming on the other, and traffic has stood still for a while. It's game time. Thank you. So they're just standing there without the need. So your thoughts are just staying there without actually examining, well, why am I feeling like this? See this in front of me? There's a family just walking in front of me. They don't, they're not filled with the things that the news is saying that they should have. They're just a family that's out on this Sunday together and walking and doing what they need to do. But without hang-ups, you might be something that in the home of the free and the land of the brave, you might not be expected to have, or people might not want you to have. You might just be too much an individual to be taxed. Who wants that? You have to constantly worry about what someone else is thinking of you. And I'm going to challenge you to forget about challenge. You're being challenged enough. I'm going to invite you to discover the power that you might have inside of you without having to be a puppet of organizations, a puppet of corporations, a puppet of the workplace, a puppet of bad parenting, a puppet of your friends, a puppet of your so-called allegiances, and just try to be an individual and put all your effort into being that, because you are not what they say you are. You are not what everyone is trying to buy you to be. You are not your sports team. You are not anything but what you are discovering about yourself. And it might be the person that you always thought you were, or it might be something totally different. But guess what? There's not a lot of money in that unless you find yourself with 100% way to make a living off of that. But sometimes having your freedom is a lot more important than the opposite. With that being said, take on your day and be filled with discovery.